What's up, everyone? I'm Jenny.
And I'm Jessie.
You're listening to Milkshakes and Ghosts. I'm already feeling the Christmas spirit, Jessie. Can you feel it? Can you feel the Christmas spirit?
Well, after putting up the Christmas tree, I am. I love our Christmas tree this year. Our Christmas tree is full of ghosts and the theme for the Nightmare Before Christmas.
This year is definitely my favorite decorations. So we just kept the Halloween ghosts up and threw in some Christmas hats.
We're keeping it spooky all year round.
Always keeping it spooky.
We recently wrote some spooky Christmas stories that we'll be sharing with Henry San Miguel on his show, Paranormal Perception. Both of our stories were fictional, but we did get the idea from something we learned online.
We learned that the holiday season has had a historically sinister side across Europe. In pagan and other pre-Christian traditions, legends arose of mythical beings who emerge during the long nights before and after Christmas to give out more extreme punishment to those who weren't on their best behavior.
I would choose Old Saint Nick over any one of these mythical beings we're about to discuss.
Same here. If you're naughty with Santa, all you get is a lump of coal.
Not with the mythical beings we researched. Being naughty may be your final fate.
Facts, especially with the Christmas goddess and witch called Frau Perchta. Frau Perchta isn't as well known as Krampus these days, which is a shame. People in regions of southern Germany and Austria are more familiar with her. Frau Perchta is known to lead an entourage of women on a wild hunt, accompanied by screaming demons. They fly on distaffs, wooden sticks used in traditional wool spinning that look very much like brooms. In some tales, she appears as a crone with one webbed foot, like that of a goose or swan, trailed by spirits of unbaptized children. The smallest dragging a pitcher filled with mother's tears. In other tellings, she is a beautiful woman in white robes who emerges during the 12th night of Christmas.
The goodness portion of her doesn't sound horrifying, but the witch side of her is scary.
Either way, I would not want to be near her. Today, Frau Perchta is often depicted as the Christmas witch, or even less accurately as the female Krampus. Both descriptions fail to acknowledge exactly what she truly is. She is a goddess known for her wisdom in pagan traditions. In fact, many scholars believe that Frau Perchta is the original great goddess of the Alpine region, a powerful female divinity, the great goddess of the north. But be warned, Frau Perchta does not like a messy home. In most versions from the Christian era, the goddess figure is obsessed with household chores, especially spinning. If your house isn't scrubbed clean and you haven't finished spinning all your flax by the 12th night, she may slit your belly open, rip out your insides, and stuff you with straw, rocks, and bits of glass.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. But what is flax? You were talking about a spinning flax.
So flax is a flowering plant. People grow it for fiber and seeds.
Can they spin that? Is it like a form of sewing?
Somewhat.
Sounds hard.
I'm not sure if people still use that method, but it was a common practice in the early 1800s and 1900s.
Your time period.
Jeez, Jessie. I'm not that old, okay?
Sure.
19! Don't you start with me. Ugh. Anyways, Frau Perchta also disembowels lazy children.
Excuse me? She does what? I am not getting disemboweled, and I am clean. I clean my room every single day, my desk, I do chores, I mop, I dust, I wash the dishes. You should be proud.
Oh, I am proud. Very proud. However, if your house isn't tidy enough for Frau Perchta, you best believe she is going to disembowel you. And you should leave her a tribute. And that tribute can vary depending on what region you are in. Like dumplings and herring is a part of central Germany's tradition to leave her tributes. And porridge of oats and herring is part of Austria's, or eggs and more dumplings left on the roof in Tyrol.
So now I have to leave her a tribute and clean my room every single day? That's a lot of work. She's not fair.
It's either that, or you have your insides ripped out and replaced with straw, rocks, and bits of glass, or be disemboweled because she does both.
Okay, no thank you. No, we're done. We're done here. I'd like to keep my insides, so how is it? How is it that she can either be a beautiful goddess or turn into an old hag who's obsessed with chores? Like, goodness, man.
That's a very good question, Jessie. Well, back then, Christianity was spreading among Europe. Christianity and pagan traditions were kind of intertwined. This included goddess worship in many forms. The church clergy, monks, and other scribes documented alleged bad behavior by the ancient deities and followers. In fact, much of what we know of Frau Perchta in all forms comes from priestly records. Folklore preserves a few more details that may have originated in the pre-Christian past. This goddess cared for the souls of those who died as children and taught mortals how to make linen from flax. The tradition of leaving food for Frau Perchta began not as a way to avoid violent punishment, but rather to seek her blessing, and continued well into the Christian era, vexing the church.
So why aren't goddesses talked about anymore and worshipped like they were back then?
Well, the church condemned this practice, and clergy waged war against the goddess for centuries. Today, in parts of Austria and Bavaria, there is a celebration during the 12 nights between Christmas. People dressed in costume as Frau Perchta's minions dance noisily through the streets. They're typically horned and hairy, bell-laden costumes remarkably similar to those of modern Krampus. So, mark your calendar days before Christmas and tidy your house. Don't forget to leave out some snacks. If you don't, you may be disemboweled and filled with straw and rocks and bits of glass.
Nah. You like my music skills? I know I sing good.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really scared right now. That's what that sounds like. Fear.
We need to stop. I'm sorry, okay. We need to stop podcasting so I can go clean my room right now. I like my insides very much. That was a very creepy tale for Christmas, Mom. But now are you ready to hear about all the lore about the cannibal Christmas scarecrow?
Wait. Cannibal? Cannibal? What do you mean cannibal? Oh my goodness. Well, you go. Bring on the spooky, Jessie.
Grab your favorite milkshake and hold on to your blankie. Be wary, it's about to get scary. Christmas is not only a time for laughter and holiday cheer, but also a time to tell spooky stories. And if you have mischievous kids and want them to behave, there are some mythical Christmas creatures that sure can do the trick. Stories of creatures like Krampus and Frau Perchta can turn children into little angels. And yet, one terrifying monster seems to be forgotten. Hans Trapp.
Who's Hans Trapp?
Hans Trapp is a cannibalistic Christmas scarecrow that works with Santa.
No. Not Santa. How can something like a scarecrow who is a cannibal work with Santa? That's not possible, Jessie.
Well, I mean, that's what the research I did says. And if you're on Santa's naughty list, Hans Trapp will take you to the forest to eat you.
Oh my goodness, Christmas just went real dark. That's terrifying.
The legend is well known in some of the French regions. Hans Trapp is a lesson to be learned on what happens when you stray from God and become obsessed with wealth and power. Hans Trapp wasn't always a scarecrow. He was once a man. He lived in the 1400s and was very rich and powerful, but he was also merciless and feared by his neighbors. Hans Trapp got obsessed with power and started making deals with the devil to get what he wanted. In short, he sold his soul to the devil. He was excommunicated once the Catholic Church and Pope found out about this. As a result, he was shunned from his community. Hans was banished, stripped of his titles, money, and lands. He resorted to living in the mountains of Bavaria, Germany, and dedicated himself to practicing black magic and the occult. Eventually, he ended up losing his mind from isolation. Hans went from obsessing over power to wanting revenge on those who wronged him. At this time, he started craving human flesh. One day, he stuffed his clothing with straw and disguised himself as a scarecrow and placed himself along the road. A 10-year-old boy from the village walked by, and Hans stabbed him.
No, not the boy. That's horrific.
Hans took the body back to his lair and cooked the boy. Now, there are two versions in how the story ends. One version says before he could eat the boy, he was struck with the divine lightning bolt. The other version says that he hit his head on the rock and died as he fell. There is a third version where the bolts of lightning burst his head open and unalived him. You could say that the divine intervention was God, who was fed up with Hans' evil doing. Today, his spirit lingers, and he lives dressed as a scarecrow. Because Hans is stuck in some sort of purgatory, it is said that he works for Santa Claus to earn redemption. So Santa gives good kids presents while Hans punishes the naughty kids. Hans Trapp is a warning to children to be good or he will come for you. And when he does, he will be disguised as a scarecrow. He'll carry the naughty children off to the dark forest, never to be seen again.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Your creature sounds way worse than mine's. Now, my creature was more of a fictional being. She was a goddess that the church really just worshipped back in the 1200s. Is there any truth to the creature you chose?
That's a good question, Mom. Hans Trapp is based on a real person named Hans von Trotha, who lived from 1415 to 1503.
Knowing this makes your story even more scarier because it's real. Well, somewhat real because it was a real person.
He was a German knight and marshal in the Palestine territory. This would be the French and German area. He committed 2 castles on the German side of the border. As the story goes, he got into a land dispute with the church, specifically Weisenberg Abbey. The abbot wouldn't give certain properties to von Trotha, so he had the nearby river barrier off so that the local village would be cut off from its water supply. When the abbot complained, Hans von Trotha tore down the dam, which flooded the village and damaged its economy. There was now open warfare between Hans von Trotha and the abbey. Even the emperor at the time couldn't stop it, so they had to get the pope involved. Hans von Trotha was eventually excommunicated in 1491. Hans went on to serve the French court, and he was given the title Chevalier by King Louis.
I can't believe he was once a real person. That's really, really horrifying.
You can tell that Hans von Trotha wasn't well liked since the legacy of Hans Trapp is much more famous than he is. When people hear his name, they think of a cannibalistic Christmas scarecrow instead of a knight fighting over his land. And that, my friends, is the myth, the legend, and lore of Hans Trapp.
Well done, Jesse. Bravo. Today, we both covered Christmas myths. A goddess and a scarecrow.
The only difference is mine was real and there's proof of his existence.
Honestly, to me, that makes your story much more scarier for that reason. I'll never, ever look at another scarecrow the same again.
Me neither.
Now, I want to give a shout out to our newest assistant, Jack, for helping put this episode together.
Thanks, Jack, for making our podcast easier and for putting up with us. A lot of you out there are asking where we found our new assistant from. Well, we found him off of ZipRecruiter. You can find great help on that website and get your own Jack.
But you can't steal ours, okay? Because we've already claimed him.
If you would like to follow our socials, we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Twitter, and Patreon. Please subscribe to our socials. We're trying to grow them, especially our YouTube. Our YouTube handle is @MilkshakesGhosts.
If you would like to become a Patreon member, please visit patreon.com/milkshakesandghosts. I will link it in our show notes along with our other socials.
Join Patreon for free monthly gifts and cool perks.
Let's give a shout out to our awesome, amazing Patreon members. Mr. E from Special Delivery Show. Check out the Special Delivery Show. His podcast takes interviews to a whole new level. I'd like to give a big shout out to Pods R Us. Pods R Us is a digital creator. They post weekly updated top 10 best podcasts to listen to. Let Pods R Us help you find your next podcast. I will link their Instagram in our show notes.
MNG VIP members also include Witches for Life 1892, Bigfoot is Real 76, Bloodsucker 95, Nightmares 888, Witchy Talk 65, Dracula Rocks 22, Tina and Ruben, Legend United We Stand, Ramos 1972, Marie, Mary Ann, The Paranormal Duo, Laura and Joanne, Bruce the All Spooky, Harmony, Joan of Arc, The Dark Side, Ronald H., Joe Santana, Myra Morales from That's So Spooky, Jada Kimara H., Tony S., Jean from The Truth Is Out There, Nadia and Edward, Carl and Becca, Manzi and Kenneth, Jules and Christina, Joel from Paranormal Countdown, Alan, Zepstar1, PR Princess, Maxine, UK Ghost Haunts and Hunts, Tara Screams, Jules M., Victor and Myra, Haunted Canadian History, Melissa and Dan, The Truth Is Out There with Carly and Allison, I'm Haunted by David Becker, Wrong Turn by Andy.
Thank you all so much for being Patreon members. We appreciate each and every single one of you.
And remember, keep drinking milkshakes
And keep being
spooky!
spooky!